Well, it's 8 o'clock and we are at the intersection this morning where we're going to be talking about housing and the community collaborative and all the great work that they have been up to in these last, let's see, how long has the housing collaborative been meeting? I want to say last November, but it could even be a November before that. Isn't that terrible that you can't remember? I can't remember, but I'm going to stop. Well, I might leave the share up there. One of the things that the collaborative has been doing is surveying, especially congregations, but also can be organizations, but what they know, what could be used and what is, needed in congregations. So if at some point you could take that survey today or later, I'll be sending it out again, but I'll post it throughout our time as well. So I think I'm going to bring that down for now. There we go. It's good to see everybody here this morning and all the wonderful faces. Do we have any quick announcements here at 8:01? We've got lots of good information today, so I want to make sure we get as many minutes in as we can. Wow. And the crowd is silent.
I'll do a quick announcement. Just the welcoming week event. We will not have another intersection meeting before the welcoming week kickoff that will take place on Thursday, September 8th. So maybe that's a good quick one, and that will be at the University of the Incarnate Word Student Engagement Center Ballroom. And I think Sister Martha was going to put a flyer on in the chat, but if she doesn't have it ready, then I can do it. Sister Martha, were you going to do that?
Yeah, but if you have it right there, do it. I'm eating the last bite of my breakfast. Thank you.
I got you. I'm in the same boat, but I do have it. I'll put it in a little bit later, but I'm going to put it in there.
And the one thing I want to announce, besides saying that Pathways to Hope last week and was amazing, I'm going to be sending out a link to the keynote that I'm going to highly encourage everyone to watch, because you can only watch it till September the 9th. We only have permission to do so by the presenter to the 9th, so I'll send that out. Next week at the intersection, we're going to be hearing from one of our newer collaboratives, the SA Story Community Collaborative, that will be launching on September 11th. The website that they have developed through this event, this gathering that's actually modeling a way that community can come together in order to heal as a community. And so I want to invite you to that, and we'll be sending out that information as well. So note your calendars, but I'll send it out. I'm surprised if at least you don't know one of those storytellers, if not several of them. So it's going to be a very exciting event, free and open to the public. Okay. And anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to look at that. Mark Kimona is getting ready for the game here. He's stretching it out. So I'm going to hand this over to Wendy Holbrook with the Interfaith San Antonio Alliance, whose key focus, they've done several things, but has been housing and then homing in terms of refugees. So, but their main focus has been housing. Wendy, is that still the main focus?
Well, there are so many needs. It's a little hard to say one thing, but yes, that has been our underlying foundation since we started in 2018, was drawing attention to the need for affordable housing throughout San Antonio.
So, being in the housing collaborative, brief us a bit. What do you know? Where are we going?
Well, what I can say is there are a lot of really hardworking folks addressing the issue of affordable housing, the needs for people to have a place to live, a safe place to call home throughout the city. There's a lot of nonprofits who have been coming together in the collaborative, and that's pretty exciting work to realize, oh, and this is happening, and this is happening. And that's some of what we're going to hear about this morning. In particular, we want to draw attention to the fact that housing is not somebody else's issue, someone else's problem. It really is a citywide crisis. And we hear about this nationally. Lots of folks are talking about housing prices. All those things impact each of us. But in particular, in San Antonio, I would note that the San Antonio Business Journal recently reported that we are 65,000 units underdeveloped. 65,000 units, housing units, underdeveloped in the city of San Antonio. Now, it's hard to get your mind around how are we going to fix that? How are we going to do that? Particularly if you're a faith congregation and a leader or a clergy member. But what's important to know is as we share and roll out this kind of information, there are people in congregations who have the ability, have the capacity to make a difference, as well as congregations coming together in very specific ways. And those are the things that we're going to be talking about this morning. And in particular, on September 22nd, which is the next lunch gathering for Interfaith San Antonio Alliance. If you'd like to join us for this $11 worth of fabulous meal and much, much more valuable input, Mark Carmona, whom we'll hear from shortly, but Mark's going to be with us for the full time from 11:30 until 1 o'clock on September 22nd. If you're interested, you want more details, you're thinking, yeah, that's something I want to be a part of, then you will see in the chat that I have given my email address for you to RSVP. And the additional thing that we're doing is we're inviting some of the nonprofits to come and set up a resource fair. So we'll start at 11:30, but come early and visit with some of the resource folks who are working very specifically in the area of meeting the needs for affordable housing in our community. Thanks.
Thanks, Wendy. So just to be clear with everyone, because our briefings, you know, are tight, and especially this one this morning, September 22nd is going to give all of us an opportunity to go even deeper in this conversation and continue what we're doing today. So I'm going to lob it now to Mark Carmona, who's the Chief Housing Officer of San Antonio, the city. And we've had him around before in lots of different ways, but he's going to share with us some updates on what's happening with SHIP, the strategy, and also where he thinks and knows that the community, especially the faith community, could be assisting more and connecting more. So Mark, so glad you're here with us today.
Thanks, Ann. Good morning, everybody. Karen, I just wanted to make sure I responded back to your question in chat. Single family, dwelling unit can be a single family home. It can be multifamily. It can hopefully, if we get our amendments passed through the UDC process, could be ADUs, accessory dwelling units. So there's a lot of different ways that it's defined, but glad to be with the intersection. I'm in and out of the intersection different times, but this group has been a very faithful, impactful group in the community, and we're very glad. You may not see it sometimes or feel it, but it's happening. And appreciate Ann and appreciate all of you all. There's a lot happening right now on the housing side. We are in the middle of implementing the SHIP, our strategic housing implementation plan. There's some things that are already underway, some goals, some strategies we've already achieved. Part of that is now administering and rolling out the 2022 housing bond. And the housing bond, as hopefully you all know, has 5 areas in it. And 3 of those 5 areas, RFPs have gone out now to folks that are interested. Those areas are production of new single family homes, production of new multifamily, and rehab of existing multifamily. The 2 other buckets are preserving and rehabilitating housing that already exists, with the mind, with the thinking that the best form of affordable housing is keeping people in their homes. So there's a pot of funds that's in addition to what we do every year. And then the final pot is around permanent supportive housing, looking at addressing people who are chronically homeless out in the community. And we're seeing more of that, and we're seeing that appear, in the press in different ways. And I think what I'm most interested in is what's the most compassionate way that we can address and work with people that are experiencing homelessness. Ann and I had the opportunity to work together at Haven. And so I'm aware of the population. It's a complex issue, and I think all of this is complex. And so when I think of complexity, or I think of how we can begin to engage people, I think of communities of faith. And I think because you all have existing relationships with people, how can we share education? How can we talk about what permanent supportive housing is? How can we talk about the need that Wendy talked about? That's a big number, but when you look at our strategic housing implementation plan over 10 years, we're trying to impact 28,000 homes around housing affordability. So either 55% of that number is going to be through preservation, and 45% of that number is going to be new production. So, but what does that look like? What do those projects look like? I've had a number of conversations with leaders from different communities of faith that are beginning to explore and think more now about, well, what role do we have? Some are involved with Habitat in building homes. They have a ministry already that does minor repair on people's homes. But some of the conversations that I'm having now are, we have land, and our church has been talking about this as a ministry, whether it might be foster care youth that are aging out of the system, or older adults where they can age in place. How do we begin to build community for that? So within the city, within Neighborhood Housing and Services Department, I work with a group that does mission-oriented development. And matter of fact, I think, Wendy, we're gonna take a table on the 22nd and have someone from that group there, just to be able to talk to faith communities at that session. So today, Ann, my call out is to the communities of faith that are on this call and others to join us in this work. We need you. We need everyone. And people may be struggling with, what can I do? Or what will we do? I don't know, but we can figure it out together. And I think that's the starting point for a lot of this. Our strategic housing implementation plan is a living document. We've already had to make shifts and pivots in it based on real life application. We're working with human beings, and there's nothing that's easy about that. And so we're shifting, we're adjusting, as needed. So I appreciate the opportunity, and to be in front of you all today to give you, there's so much more that I could report out on, and I'm happy to come back and do that at a later time if you want me to do it in a specific way. But I always like coming to the intersection, making people aware of what's happening. We're doing a displacement impact assessment. That's been a big issue in communities, and we can talk about that some more. But my main message today is, please join us. Join us in our work. We have plenty of it, and we need you. Thanks, Ann.
I'm thinking too, Mark, one of our other folks in the collaborative, Jane, who's not going to be able to be with us this morning, but Jane said just on Tuesday at the meeting, we need projects. We need pilots. We need places like we're dreaming and imagining to, and I'm glad you mentioned your own congregation, Mark, that you're having the conversation. And what does that look like? And to step up. When you said you wanted a table, I just want to make sure you were talking about the Neighborhood Housing Services Department, right?
Yes, Wendy had talked
22nd.
about this week about having tables available at her event on the 22nd. I want to go ahead and have a table for neighborhood housing, because and try to have people that work in mission-oriented development there. As I talked that day, And Wendy and I talked about what my focus will be for that day. I suspect there'll be people that could engage and want to know a little bit more. So it made sense to me.
Yeah, I just wanted people to be clear. I'm pretty sure that's what I was hearing. But so again, to go even deeper into this conversation, September 22nd is a great opportunity to do that. And Mark, you mentioned about congregations and what they can do. And I was, reflecting on that this morning, not just about housing, right? There's so much that needs to be done. And we don't want to get overwhelmed, because what happens when we get overwhelmed, inaction tends to happen. But I think especially folks here at the intersection, to plant seeds, even if not just roll up their sleeves, like thinking, oh my gosh, we've got 10 acres in the back of our property. We could do something there with seniors or whatever the case might be. But that might not be what everybody, and it won't be what everybody has here on screen, but they can be critical thinking messengers out in the world. So when talking to other leaders and knowing more information, would be able to say, well, you guys got 10 acres. Have you thought about, you have that great big old beast of a building that nobody's in and utilizing anymore. Have you thought about refitting that somehow? So being a messenger is just as important as having some acreage or time to spend and working on this. So carrying the information on all the different collaboratives is important.
And I think, Ann,
yeah.
I was just going to say, I think I agree with everything that you said. I would say all of the above. But what I found useful so far, I know churches are looking for projects, and we can direct them towards that. I'm looking at Edward Gonzalez right now, and we can direct them straight to Edward, and he's got plenty of work for people if they want to engage. But what I found useful so far is just to have an initial conversation, and begin to try to understand what the faith community is interested in, what they're thinking. I find that if I'm listening more than I'm speaking in those initial conversations, I get a better sense of what people are looking for. We are collecting a lot of data now about people that are housing insecure, or that are vulnerable or cost burdened. And if the particular programs the city has, or even our partners has, is not able to reach that need, why not faith community? So, the more that we have information, that's why I say I think an opening place is conversation. I've noticed in the chat, people, I'm ready to go. I love it. Just email me, please, and we'll set up time and we'll visit. I'll come to you. It doesn't matter, and we'll make it happen. So thank you again, Ann.
And thanks to Sacred, this is all being recorded. And I know other folks at the intersection have taken recordings and taken the recording to their congregation, right? And just use this, what we're doing this morning. And so we're going to move on to Sacred in terms of the housing services portal that they've been working on, prevention efforts, resources. Bill?
Yes, thank you, Ann. So I'm gonna be brief. I know we are trying to be sensitive to time so that we have time for questions. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to give you a real quick overview of some of the things that Sacred has been working on in the housing services space. So, and I think a way to present this to all of the people on this call is that if you have 10 acres or a big building, then what Ann's talking about and converting that into usable housing space, I think is a great option. If you don't have 10 acres or you don't have that resource, then what can you do if you're interested in participating in housing security in the city? So Sacred has done two things that one is that are about ready for public consumption. The first one is that we have partnered with My City is My Home. They have Rich Acosta at My City is My Home. I don't think he's here with us today, but his organization has collected information on about 500 or so apartment buildings in San Antonio, and collected information. You can see all this information that he's collected, what site, how many bedrooms, they can offer, different, do they work with people with felonies, with past broken leases, accessible units, things, etc. Rich had collected this data, and he has it hosted on his website right here. He and Sacred, so My City is My Home and Sacred have partnered together to move this map from Rich's website onto sacred.org. And in doing so, we've been able to add some filtering, some additional filtering capabilities, and make the update process a little easier. So we'll be able to, working with Rich and his group of volunteers, we'll be keeping this up to date, regularly, calling each, the plan, Rich's plan is to contact each one of these apartment buildings at least quarterly to do an update to confirm that they're still there and that they still are offering these services. So that's the plan. And so this is about ready to launch, but you can kind of see what the thing is. Say I want to look in the 78218 zip code and I want a 3-bedroom unit. There's one that's there. If I want a 2-bedroom unit, I'm going to be able to get some more, but if I want one that's all bills paid, we're down to 3 in that particular zip code. So I can change the zip code and say, let me show in 78222. We've only got one location that is offering 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom units in this location. So I won't go into great detail on this, but just know that this is a really powerful tool, and Rich has done a tremendous job with collecting the data. And then Sacred was able to use, our technical expertise to kind of visualize that data in a really meaningful way. So this is an ongoing partnership with sacred.org and My City is My Home. We're about ready to launch this publicly. So when we do, we'll have a big splashy announcement, and we'll definitely come back to this group to make sure. But if you want to take a look at this on your own, you can email me and I can give you a preview of it. If you want to take a look at it and just kick the tires a little bit. The other thing I want to talk about is our housing services portal. So sacred.org, as you know, has done we've done a mental health portal where we've identified about 1,500 mental health services and allowed people to narrow those down based on the specific condition and situation that they have, payment options, language needs, things like that. So we are proposing to offer that same treatment of housing services. So we're careful not to call this a housing portal because the map that we talk about in the apartment locator will help people find apartment housing, okay? But this portal that we're talking about is really housing services, and finding housing will be one component of it, but we'll also be looking at keeping people in the housing that they're already in and services that are there. So, and this is where a lot of smaller organizations can come together. If you don't have space or resources to create housing units, then you can certainly, you might be able to create programs in your organization that can help people stay in the housing they have. This might be services for moving, doing modifications for ramps and bars and accessibility and things like that, or just wellness checks. So what we've done on our housing portal is I have this whole proposal that we've offered. The key part of this here is this taxonomy of housing services. These are all the areas that we are proposing to seek and list housing, list programs from nonprofit agencies, government programs, faith communities, community groups, et cetera, to all around all of the things that go into housing beyond having a place to live, right? These are all the other things that you need in order to be successful in your housing situation. So we have the housing taxonomy of all of the categories, and then we're really looking at these human situations in housing. These are what we've kind of identified as all of the, well, probably not all, an exhaustive list of what we could come up with of all of the situations that people might find themselves in. And so if you are in one of these situations, then you might benefit from the housing portal or from the housing services portal. So if you want to see more of this, you can contact me and I'm happy to share it with you. We're currently seeking funding for this project and working on it as much as we can until that, but we're to the point of where we really need to get boots on the ground as we start to explore where these services are. So I'm hopeful that will be coming soon, and we are eager to get started. So if you if any of you want to read this document or discuss it with me, I'm more than happy to send it to you. You can contact me. I'll put my email in the chat.
So Bill, just so there's no confusion, right? With the people viewing. The housing services portal doesn't exist yet. So
Right.
it's not on Sacred. So I just don't want people to be confused. We do
That
have
is-
yeah.
That is correct. We have many housing services listed on Sacred. But we believe, one, that there are more out there that we want to go ahead and find, and we want to improve the way that they're being listed, as well as find more, and then do an entire housing support system on Sacred. That's well beyond what we've done, and this goes beyond. Our view is that we're going beyond affordable housing. So affordable housing is a key component of the housing issue in San Antonio, but we're going beyond just an affordable unit to rent. We're going into people that already own their homes but are in danger of losing them, people that need help, that are have a place to live in a unit but need help moving or storing items or transitioning. So we have we have a lot of those services already included on Sacred, but it's not an exhaustive list, and we are looking to increase the number of services that we've identified in the community, as well as provide an easier way for people to find those. And really, this is hopefully in partnership with the City of San Antonio and with the SHIP. They've got a document that defines the strategic housing initiatives for the next 10 years. And so Sacred very much wants to provide tools to support that, like we are supporting the mental health services and the program that NAMI and Bridges to Care and Department of Human Services and the county has put on. So we see our role being very much as supporters of these community-wide initiatives. But no, it does not. There are housing services there, but we aim to make it light years better.
Thanks, Bill. So hopefully on screen, we're going to move to the next call to action, call to help. The collaborative has put together a survey, so they also know how best to help congregations get involved, but finding congregations who want to be involved. So some people have already taken this. I will also send out the information to everyone after this morning, but you can use this QR code or this link. This survey will really help direct the collaborative forward. They've collected lots of information, already doing a lot of great work, but they're also trying to focus on how the community can be involved, and especially the faith community. So this survey will really help to do that. So if you can fill that out, that would be great. Which makes me think too of we do have existing models in the community already. One that I saw in building process was St. John's Seminary Catholic, south of downtown near, is it Confluence Park? It's not far from there. It sits on the river. I haven't seen it since, it's been a couple of years, but they had an existing building, which they were creating the seminary. They were creating that into kind of common space. And then they had acreage behind that they were building units, affordable housing into. So they're not the only one. And so we're going to hear an update from Edward on Town Twin that's being built right now.
Thank you, Ann. And how much time do I have? I want to make sure 1 minute. Okay.
You can do 2. We'll just keep going, man.
Okay.
And those who have to leave, they will.
All right, perfect. Can folks see my screen? I'm going to be very brief. For those of you that I've had the pleasure of meeting before or know about the project, bear with me. For all of you that need a refresher or that have not heard before, this will be very informative for you. So I am the executive director for the Housing First Community Coalition, and we are currently developing what we're calling the Town Twin Village. And this is a 204 unit permanent supportive housing project. I think Mark was talking about education and what is permanent supportive housing. It's housing with services wrapped. It's housing for primarily homeless individuals or formerly homeless individuals that have a disabling condition, right? So they are individuals that without supportive services would not be successful in a housing unit by themselves, right? So they're either addicted to, they have mental health or behavioral health issues, they're addicted to substance abuse or alcohol. So they need those support and wraparound supports, case management, in order to continue to stay on the right path or continue to have that quality of life within their units. So that's really what permanent supportive housing is. It's not something that goes away. So that's something that I like to mention, that, you know, once somebody is a candidate for permanent supportive housing, it's not like they graduate from that or transition out of it. So we hope to have, and what we're doing, we're actually activated, and we are currently building what the town twin village on the east side of San Antonio in Council District 2 in Precinct 4. It's right down the road from the East Side Education and Training Center. We have 17.4 acres that the complex will be built on. And those of you from the area or that may remember, this we named it after an outdoor movie theater. So previous to our village was a outdoor movie theater called the Town Twin Outdoor Movie Theater. So we're paying homage to that and keeping some of that alive with the naming. Now, the population for our seniors over 50 years of age that with disabilities who are experiencing chronic homelessness, and chronic homelessness means that they've been on the street for more than a year. Some of the individuals that we've been working on intake, our intake processes, they've been homeless for well over 10 years and are well over 75 years of age. This is the master plan, this site here. I'm happy to see we have 24 RVs on this top portion. We have a total of 100 tiny homes, and you can see they're built in clusters to really build community. I think Anne really, I was listening to a conversation I had with Anne earlier in the week, and she talked about people, place, and purpose. And that's really exactly what we're trying to mend connections here, right? Is there, you know, the individuals that are transitioning out of homelessness coming into the village will, you know, they have some disconnection from being just people, right? And disconnection from other people. They have a place that they can call their own, and they'll also have a purpose in terms of being able to support each other. And and a purpose can mean a lot of different things to a bunch of different folks. But I wanted to show some progress. So we are currently scheduled to have our first round of residents move in the site in November. We do not have a lot of, we won't have all of the units ready, but we're going to have it in a safe manner where we can start moving folks in. I wanted to show you some pictures. These are a picture of the tiny homes or the clusters and some of the support services building. If anyone wants more information on this, please email me or visit housingfirstsa.org. I've been doing several tours. We're going to kind of, I see Abe on the line. We did a tour with him, I think last month. But we're open to doing tours. I want to start those up again in late October. So email me, we'll put you on the schedule, we'll get you there, and we can have conversations on how you can activate at the site, because there's a 1,000 different ways that you can do it. So thank you, Anne, for the time.
Thank you, Edward. And can you put your email into chat? So if they want to schedule a tour, those tiny homes look so great. Part of what the collaborative does as well is we look beyond ourselves. What's happening, you know, out and about in the rest of the country. And I know that Anne is here. She's been taking some courses through the Charter for Compassion, which has been looking, what do you see on your screen from me? Anyone?
Square One Villages.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
So tell us about it a little bit.
My turn. Okay, yeah. So Charter for Compassion had a webinar series called Housing is a Right. And there were 7 webinars featuring 7 tiny home villages, village solutions in the US, Canada, and Latin America. And it was fascinating. And I just selected 2 of the villages to just kind of quickly show you guys, because they are replicable, ready to go, and several cities across the country, communities, churches, whatnot, have already replicated the models using their resources and consulting and all of that. And so these 2 are available to help anybody, or you could go to their websites and just, learn a vast amount of knowledge. But if you wanted to just quickly scroll through those slides, I can show how Square One Villages actually started with 1 acre of land that the city donated for a pilot. And that city village was built in 2013. I don't know, I think it was 9 years ago, and it's still there, still operating, still going strong. And actually, I'd like to go back to Square if you happen to have it, because Square.
I'd sure like to.
Don't worry about it. I'll put the thing in the.
Is it there now or not?
No, I got Eden right now, but it's okay. I'll just tell people about it. So with Square Villages, they actually have a co-op model where the residents can own the home that they're going to be or living in. So the co-op model is something that they developed as a result of just, figuring stuff out. And as they went from this 1 acre lot that they put behind a church, I can't remember where it was, but they developed all these different models all the way up to a transitional concept where they go from the tiny homes, or actually beautiful homes that could be featured on, Housing and Garden, whatever. They're gorgeous, but they can transition to, their own home, co-op, and own it, and everything's included in their rent, and they are a part of the community. They make the decisions. It's a democratic system. So I thought that was super interesting. And then Eden Villages, which is the second one that you had up, is in Missouri. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
That's
Is in
okay.
Missouri.
Sorry.
And it's just another example of a replicable model. And they have all kinds of help and assistance to share with people. So I'll just put the websites in the chat so that people can take a look at the pictures, and everything is just amazing. Square One has, I think, 7 villages, 2 of them under development or something like that, and lots all over the country that have replicated. So I really encourage you to take a look at them. Very cool. And the rent goes all the way from $35 a month to $700 in a model. The last model is where they build a quadruplex of 1-bedroom units in a residential home environment. I was like, oh, that's San Antonio. And they're like, and we put an ADU in the back, so we have 6 units on one lot. And I was like, oh, that is so San Antonio. And we could, just put ADUs all over the place and chip away at this, number that we have that we need to fill. So anyhow, just thought I'd share some of that information that I gleaned from these Charter for Compassion wonderful webinars, and they're all available. You can all watch them for free. And the website I can put in the chat as well. And if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to me, but I won't be able to answer them more than likely, but everything will be on the websites.
Thank you, Ann. And then one last thing in that learning from others. So after September 22nd, where we can go deeper in this conversation, right? On October 1st, there are faith leaders coming from across the country and meeting in San Antonio. And the theme is Property Meets Purpose. And we will all be invited to that, but it'll be a conversation hearing from other leaders in other parts of the United States who are doing similar things, but they're also coming here to find out what's happening in San Antonio. So they're probably, Edward, you should mark your calendar, they're probably going to want a tour of Town Twin, for example. But the Impact Guild, who Good Acres, has been working on this project with a larger organization. So they're the local coordinator. You'll be getting more of that, but you might just mark your calendar. It's a Saturday, October 1st. Property meets purpose. So, whew, lots of information, lots going on with this collaborative. And somebody had asked, how do I get involved with the collaborative? You can just email me and then we'll get that rolling. It's 8:40, so we could have just a couple questions till 8:45. I know I saw one question from Rebecca Baker. Edward, how is Town Twin, and you might have already answered it, how is Town Twin funded?
So Rebecca, yes, the capital construction is funded by a variety of sources. One, the city. So the city provided an initial investment for us of $5.4 million. The county has also chipped in $4 million. We have a tax credit financing that we're currently undertaking, which will bring another $3.5 to $4 million. And then private donations, which we knew that they were going to really come in at the tail end of things. So as things are being built and people are laying their eyes on the reality that it's going to happen, we think that those private donations are going to continue to come in. We have Methodist Healthcare Ministries is helping us fund the medical building or the clinic that we're going to have on site. And then we also have Trust Grace Foundation has recently provided some support for us as well as for that medical clinic. So the fundraising is ongoing. The operation funding will be, a lot of the service are going to be provided by professionals and service providers that are doing service in the community already. So instead of doing it at another location, they're going to do it on site, right? So instead of going underneath an encampment, they will be on site and providing that service for us. So Center for Healthcare Services, as an example, will provide behavioral health services for us at no charge to us. So they'll be using their existing budget to provide that service for our individuals, and so on and so on.
Thank you. Other questions? Somebody want to raise your hand? Time for one or two more, maybe? So, all said, thank you for everybody being with us this morning, and for those who brought the briefing and all their hard work that they've been about. You can tell they've been working, bringing it together. Please take the surveys. Again, like right now, after we get off the screen, I'm going to send an email out to At the Intersection with a lot of this, the survey link, just other information, September 22nd, and so that we can move this forward. Thank you.
I
Yes,
didn't
Ann?
I didn't take the survey because I'm not a I'm not a church, right? Do I still need to take it?
You can. Your insights, it might be something, even from like your neighborhood. I know that you're very involved with your neighborhood association.
Okay.
And so bringing information to that association and what's needed there won't hurt, right?
Okay.
It won't
I'll do it
hurt.
from that perspective. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, hey, and yeah, we currently have 17.
Oh, there's Rich.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
We have 17 churches that have filled out the survey so far. So 5 more since the last time I gave you an update, and so people are jumping on and getting it done. We'll be doing some outreach to those that have answered today and tomorrow. I'll be reaching out to them.
Have you learned? Did you just get on, Rich? Did I miss you? I kept looking.
I put it in a direct message to you to tell you I messed up. I put down this started at 8:30 in my calendar instead of 8 o'clock. So I thought I was early at 8:25.
Okay, well, at 8:44, we're going to give Rich 1 minute here. I want to know, everything's been covered. Bill did the whole thing. It's good. And why taking the survey is important. Have you gleaned anything from the surveys that you've gotten? Information that
from the congregations that have filled out the surveys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, so part of the questions that are in there is what resources do you provide? So they're telling us what stuff that they already provide. So we're seeing that some already provide legal services, foods and needs, childcare, navigation resources, and then, but some also add that into what they also need. They need more resources for food and services, even though that they provide those foods and services. You know what I'm saying? Then a lot have indicated, we asked if your congregation has land. Here's the question: does your congregation have land or facilities that are not being used, and that in a collaborative effort could be used for affordable housing, and you could bring additional revenue to your congregation? And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses to that right there. So we have four possibilities of some conversations in that perspective. So some good feedback, and yeah, I look forward to reaching out to them and seeing how we can all work together.
Great. And frankly, you know, when you start this kind of thing, 4 congregations is great. And we'll see, you know, how we make our way through. So thank you for being with us at the intersection this week. Next week, we're going to be hearing from the SA Story Community Collaborative and the healing work that they're doing in terms of collective trauma and collective healing in our communities. So have great weekends, and we'll see you next Thursday at the intersection.
Thank you, Anne. Have a blessed day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.